Welcome back, my friends. And now what we are going to do is start setting up our scene for a render. And let's say that we want to render this, we're happy with these objects, and we want to make a picture from this. So what we need, I'm just gonna press S in order to get closer to my objects, and I'm gonna place them together a little bit more kind of closer together because I mean they're really far away. So I'm gonna take the table and the glass, and I'm just gonna move them like this. They're gonna get closer. I'm gonna take the ball, and I'm gonna move it a little bit in here. And now let's establish our camera, where we want our camera to be. So this board could be rotated a little bit. We don't want to have everything just like that, like plain. I'm gonna take this one as well, and I'm gonna move it like this. And we don't want to have that kind of flat strange behavior. So we have this, and I want to create a camera. So I'm just going to click in here. I'm going to create a camera by clicking, and now you can see that I have this green rectangle around this, and I have this little dot. Now this is important. Give to your camera a different name. So in this case, this one is going to be called my main camera. I want big long name because I want to remember. And now you can see that right now I am using my default camera, which means that this one can be moved, and I don't have a problem because I created a camera that is already there because I created it when my default camera was there. So now I can move and manipulate my scene using this camera, and if I want to see through this camera, all I have to do is just click on this little guy in here, and that's going to put me back on track. Now that's one important thing. Do not move this camera. Click in here, get out of that camera, and then deal with it, because if not, you're going to be in trouble. Now there's a way of looking your camera, putting a lock in there, but right now I am not going to do it because we need to focus on what is important right now about this class. Now we could stay here and talk about cameras. I mean, there's a bunch of them, as you can see here, but for now, just stay with me in this. So that's our camera. I'm going to click in here, and there we go. We have our camera. Now I'm going to create, I want to create a render for this. So what you need to do is just press this little guy here, and we're gonna get our render. All right, so that's what we get. We have our first render, and it doesn't look that bad, but it looks really bad, ugly, black. What is that? Probably at night, but what is this kind of lighting? So that's the problem with renders. Now we need to establish an illumination source, or some kind of lighting. So that's really important. I'm gonna go here, and you can see that we have a couple of lights. Now in this session, I am going to focus with this one, just the light, this simple one, and I'm going to make it. I'm just gonna take my move tool, all right, and that way I can move it. And this is Omni light, and you can see that right now it looks kind of weird. I'm gonna move out from that camera, and I'm gonna put it on top, and you can see how my light is interacting with my objects. That is really nice. Now I'm going to take this light and emulate the sun. So I'm going to take that, and it's going to be the sun like this, probably high enough in here, and probably right there. Okay. Now I can go and select the properties of this light. I can increase the intensity just by going like that, and just take a look that I am at the general tab in here. So that is exaggerated, so I'm just going to take that back to 100. I don't want to go over that. This is a type of Omni light, all right? You can change it from here, but we're going to be using this. That means that it's sending information in every single one of the, in every direction around the object, like in a sphere, spherical object. And I'm going to change the color of this and try to make something that looks more like a sunny day, just like that. And so that's what we have. I have one light. We place it right in here, looking at the sun. Now I'm going to go back to my main camera, and we are going to create another render. So in order to create a render, just press this button, and that's going to give you another render. And now you can see that we have a nicer kind of result. This is really nice. Now we have lighting. Now look at the before, and now look at the after. Really huge, big difference. All right. After, before, after, before. So now there's a couple of things that I want to point out, and I want you to see. First of all, we have no shadows. I mean, we have shadows because of the same object, but this object is not placing a shadow on top of the sand. The same thing with the glass is not placing a shadow on top of the table, and the table on top of that. And that's the thing that is happening here. So we need shadows. Another thing that I want is to get a nice fillet or a bevel on top of this surface. And another thing is that I can see that my sphere is not completely rounded. It's not smoother enough. So that's what we are going to fix. Now, what I'm going to do here is just going to go back to 100% in this value. I'm going to minimize this, and let's fix this option here. I'm going to go out of my camera. I'm going to press S, and you can see that in here, if I select my table surface, I have this fillet option that we had. We talked about it when we were talking about the glass, and you can see how we are creating this kind of rounded shape in here. So that's really cool. Now I can increase the subdivisions to something more, and that's really nice. So that has done, and we have done that. And now if I hit play in here, if I hit render, now you can see the difference. Look at this table and look at this one. Can you see how the light is affecting this table? All right. Now we have nicer shadows, we have a nicer definition, the light is actually bouncing on the corners of this object. That's something that we really need. The same thing is going to happen with this glass. If we didn't put that, we will get that kind of ugly result. But you can see that it's easy to fix in shapes like that. If it was the glass, well, we will have to deal with our bevel and a little bit more complicated. Not that hard, but still a little bit more complicated. Now the thing is that we need to fix the actual sphere in here. And in order to do that, the sphere is just this. I want to take this object called subdivision surface. I want to place it in here. I'm going to take it, place it underneath here. I'm going to take the beach ball and I'm going to put it underneath this object. And that automatically is going to create a subdivision level for that. And that's going to fix the problem for now, temporarily. And there's a lot of things in here and in here, and we could talk about this, but you know, right now we want to learn the basics and we want to start working with Cinema 4D, and that's what we are doing. So now, what I can do is create another render to see what happened. And now you can see that the sphere is perfectly rounded. This is before, after, before, after. And all right, what else can we do? I need a sky. So in order to get a sky, I'm going to create now a huge sphere. And this sphere is going to be 100,000. So 1, 2, 3. And segments, it has 16, but I'm going to make it 50. I want it really nice and rounded. And then I'm going to create another material. So in this case, it could be the same that I'm using for the table because it's bluish. So I can go like that and just give it a different name. This is going to be called sky. And now this material is going to be added to this section. And now you can see that we have that, another render. And now you can see that it's bright and nice and we have that color. Now I really want to make it a little bit more bluish. So I'm going to go a little bit more this way, towards this way. We edited that. Now again, this looks a lot nicer, don't you think? Perfect. So that's what we're getting. Now the glass doesn't have any kind of material, so I'm going to create one for that, and I'm just going to go like that, copy this, and this one is going to be called glass. Now with this one, what I want is double click on it, and we have talked about a lot of different things, but in this case I'm just gonna go in here and I'm just gonna call this one, for example. And you know, I don't know, I should do something here like font, and I don't want to go right now and talk about this because it's a little bit more complicated. So what I want is just show you that we have this thing called transparency. If I remove the reflectance and reduce the brightness of this, you can see that I get all this black kind of thing. If I increase that, I get the transparency, and that's what I want. And now I can apply the reflectance and I will get this kind of thing. Now I'm just gonna apply this to my glass, and let's see what we get. You can see that now it looks transparent in here, but let's see our render. You can see that that's what we get. Don't worry about the effect that we are getting, all these reflections. We could talk about this for hours, and there's, you know, a lot of different effects, a lot of different things that we can use and tweak and bring some different options. And it's just not complicated, but there's a lot of information to digest in here. So I can remove that if I want to, and look what happens if I remove this. I can just make another version, and there we go. So the reflections are gone. You know, we have some refraction in there, and we're gonna keep it like that just for now. Okay, stay with me. And by the way, this was using just transparency. Okay, we are not using anything else but the transparency value, and that's all what we have right now. that channel. Now, what else can we do to improve this scene? Well, what I need is some sort of shadows. We don't have shadows. So I'm going to go and take this light. And inside the light properties, I have an option called shadows. And inside here, I have an option called shadow map, right trace it, and area. We could stay here for a long time as well. Right now, I'm just going to go and select, well, I'm going to show you area, all right? You don't want black shadows. You want something a little bit kind of with a color, you know, depending on the color where we are. In this case, I'm just going to go with this gray. I'm going to click OK. And density, I don't want it that hard, so I'm just going to go 70%. And then I'm going to click on render. And we are going to get a nice shadow effect now in here. Can you see that my glass is not giving me any shadows? You see that? That is not nice. So now what I'm going to do here is use another option here, which is called the shadow maps. And this one is going to help me to improve my render time. So I'm going to go and increase this value to 1250. And density is going to be the same, transparency, same, color the same just for now. And let's just take a look at the different type of shadow that we are going to get with this value. And there we go. So you can see it's a little bit harder, and this one is softer. That's why we want to use the area shadows. They are nicer than the other ones. But as you can see here, it's giving us a nice result as well. Now the glass is not giving me shadows, so I can just click in here. And if I show you that, if I activate the color, for example, and in the transparency, let me just remove transparency and create another render. So you can see now the shadow is there because the glass now is not transparent. If I activate transparency, and I do that, the shadow is gone because now my object is transparent, and this is saying, okay, it's transparent. So I am not going to show you anything. So what we could do is, we could deal with semi-transparency in this time. We could use reflectance. I mean, if we use reflectance, you can see that it's going to help us with what happened here. Yeah, we have reflectance, and now it's helping us with that, but transparency, oh, that's because I removed transparency. So now transparency, reflectance. And now let's hit play one more time. And you can see that reflectance now is helping us with that. We have the shadow, we have the reflectance, but we have to, play with these values. And the brightness in transparency, let's remove it, make it completely transparent. That's what we are getting. Make it completely opaque, sorry. And now let's click on here, and we are not getting our shadow. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, we need to talk about shading, a lot of different effects and tricks that we can use. And in this case, I'm just going to remove the reflectance, and I'm just going to add a color to this, and we are going to make it like that. And you can see that we have that shadow in there. So that's nice. What else can we do? Well, let's just add another light just quickly. And I'm going to copy and paste this, or we can actually just, I'm going to do that, get out of this camera. I'm going to go out of here. And I'm just going to create another light right in there. I'm going to put it on the back of these objects. And now I can take these objects and emulate the back bouncing light of the sky. So in this case, it could be a blue color. Let me just change the name of this. This could be blue. And this could be sun, or sky. I could call this one sky and this one with another name. Now this blue, we're gonna go to its properties. We're gonna take shadows. We don't want shadows from this. We want, because it's just a bouncing kind of light, we want a blue color for this. And let's just go back to here and see our render. And now you can see how we improve that. If we take a look at the before, let's get closer in here. And now the after, you can see how we are getting, you see the sphere here around it, and we have this rim of light. Same thing here with this portion of the table. Here we get some lighting in here. It looks a little bit more realistic, a little bit more nicer, natural. So that's cool. Now you can see that the color of our sky is lost, but don't worry. Now I'm going to show you some other another option in here. I want to take these two guys, and I'm going to deactivate them right now. All right, so just like this with the check mark. And instead of using this, you could actually use another option here called the physical sky. So you can click on this guy, and you can just go and try to set up a day at the time. For example, I'm going to say something like 7 sunset kind of thing in here. You have to play with the coordinates as well. That's too heavy. Probably like 6. Let's see. All right, and now I am not using these lights. I'm going to click on play, and you can see that I am getting that. The position of the sun is all the way around where I want it, and probably it's just the orientation of my scene. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to put it not like this, but like that, 12. And no, too dark. And you know, sometimes the time is not correct, but you can see the idea of what am I doing here. So probably like this. Let's see what we get. A little bit nicer, but no, still not what I want. Night, completely dark. And now let's see, 4 in the morning, 7. Let's see, 9 in the morning, 9:30, and you can see that we are getting this kind of these shadows. But you can play with the coordinates. You can move the position, rotation, and change where the sun is, the intensity of the sun, the saturation. There's shadows, and you can see that we're using area shadows. The density, we can reduce it if we want to. Time and location. I'm just gonna go here. We are at the date of today. We can just go and say, you know what, I want October, for example, and just get another result, and you're gonna get that. And I don't know why. Oh, I know why. Yes, excuse me. That's because we have this sphere. I'm gonna hide the sphere. Oh, that's why, Carlos. So click play, and there we go. So we have a nicer kind of effect. You can see the sun in here. And now if I take the physical sky, and now one more time, let's go to the sunset that we were looking at before, we're going to get another kind of result, and you get the shape, you get the stars, and all these kind of cool things. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention, obviously. 12 in the afternoon, something like that, and look at the nice kind of result that we are getting. So this is really, really nice. This is with our sky, and this is the nicer that we got with our 2 lights, and you can see the great difference in between this. I mean, I could take these guys from here to here, and I could right click, and I'm going to delete them. I just need to press delete, and they're going to go away. And now I have this with my sky, and this with my emulated, with my lights that I created by hand. So that's really nice. And as you can see, a lot of different things that we can do, a lot of different options. But now you have an idea of how you can start working with Cinema 4D. You can start manipulating your objects, modeling, editing, adding textures, and now rendering. Now, if you want to save this image, all you have to do is just right click and say that you want to save this image. You're just going to go like that, and you're going to say, all right, I want to save it in like in the format you want. In this case, it could be a PNG file. And then you go click OK, and then you're going to be able to save it wherever you want it. So that's it for now. Thank you very much, and I will see you in our next class. Bye-bye for now, and take care.